I wanna tackle this. I wanna paint it perfectly, and I'm gonna do it in 1 week. Hey guys, welcome back to Eons of Battle and welcome back to Other Games April. I have many favorite war games and they all scratch a different little hobby itch, but the hobby itch I have right now is to do some perfect painting, and that can mean only one thing: malifaux. If you like horror, Weird West, zombie, genre mashup, turn of the century, and actual lore progression, then malifaux might just be the game for you. I have already collected 2 crews for malifaux: Colette Dubois and the sophisticated dancers of the Star Theater Burlesque Show, and the violent and vicious Nekima, queen of the black-blooded Nephilim. And I am ready to add a third. Keyword Ki and Gong, led by Yoko Hamasaki, malifaux's Batman. If Bruce Wayne was as cool as Batman, you guys will see what I mean by that later. My plan is to paint these up perfectly. And what do I mean by that? Because I try to paint everything good, but sometimes good is with the lowercase s. Sometimes it's good enough, but I want to paint perfectly. I am gonna be spending 1 day per miniature. And by the end of this week, I will have a perfect, pristine new crew. This will be making a fine addition to my collection. And for anybody new to malifaux, by the end of this video, you will have a full understanding of the game of malifaux because I'm just gonna be gushing about it the whole time. Let's paint. I wanna have a finished miniature every day. The first miniature is going to be my leader, Yoko Hamasaki. Malifaux is made up almost entirely of characters, with each model representing a known and named person from the world of malifaux. Unlike a lot of similar games that might use resin or metal for these one-off characters, Wyrd, the company, makes all their figures out of plastic, and they are immaculate. A malifaux crew is made up of a master and hires. Yoko is the master of the Ki and Gong, and she is one of 37 different masters spread out over 8 factions. And she is done. 1 day, 1 model, and I'm ready to show off both of them. Yep, that's right. I'm already cheating. I technically didn't cheat. 1 model, 1 day. This is 1 character represented in 2 different models: Yoko Hamasaki and Yoko Hamasaki Unseen. In malifaux, often masters have 2 different versions of them that can do different things. So even within the same keyword, in my case Ki and Gong, you can have a little bit of variety in your list building. Yoko Hamasaki is my master, which is a weird sentence to say, but let's just roll with it. By day, she runs a humble tea shop, which just so happens to be a front for the biggest spy network in all of malifaux, uncovering everyone's deepest and darkest secrets. And by night, she lives a perfectly ordinary life as a ninja, running around wreaking havoc and carrying out the deadly deeds of the crime family. She is malifaux's Batman. You might think that the actual Batman in malifaux would be malifaux's Batman, but you'd be wrong. It's Yoko. Now that I have my leader finished, it's time to fill out the rest of my gang first thing tomorrow. It's tomorrow now, and I have Yoko's daughter to paint, Chio Hamasaki. Malifaux models are on a 35mm human scale, which makes them a little taller and more slender than the 28mm heroic scale that a lot of other wargames use. And this is what led me to wanting to paint them right now, because they are just begging for maximum effort painting. They're much more realistic in their design, and although the style leads to things like washes and speed paints not working as well on them, it gives me a bigger canvas to put all my efforts into practicing painting good. And finished. Now I have access to Chio and Chio's rules, which I could find on the card her model was supplied with, or I could use the app. Yes, there is an app. I can hear some of you groaning from all the way over here, but don't worry if the idea of an app makes you want to barf, because you absolutely do not need it. Although it's really good, it makes list building super easy. It's the best wargaming app I've ever used. It's got all the cards in there, and if you link up with your opponent, you can actually see their cards and all the stuff that they do. But again, you don't need it. Wyrd offers all the cards, a full printed rule book, and beautiful faction books for all you gamers who prefer screens off while gaming. Little Chio is finished, and I love how she turned out. And I'm really excited for tomorrow to tackle one of the heavy hitters of my faction. Bill Algren, the silent bodyguard of the Hamasaki, and I'm ready to paint him up. Bill is physically bigger, and his armor gave me a great reprieve from the perfect flowing silk that most of the rest of my gang is clothed in. He is the muscle of my team, a rocket I can throw at any big bads my team might have to go up against. Bill is my favorite, and I am so glad he turned out this good. Bill guy, Yokohama Saki's guy. I'm really proud of how this guy turned out. He's so much physically bigger and there was a lot more room to put paint on him, and I really like how he came out. He's the big bruiser on my team. He's got a pretty good attack and he can even heal other models near him up to 3 wounds with his stoic head nod. The way he does these actions is the same way all actions take place in Malifaux, and it's in my opinion the thing that makes Malifaux such a great game. Malifaux, instead of using dice for actions, it uses a standard 54 deck of playing cards. Now that might just sound like a gimmick, but in my opinion, it's what makes Malifaux so much fun to play. Every time you want to do anything, you have to flip a card. In Malifaux, Jacks, Queens, Kings, and Aces represent 11, 12, 13, and 14, which completely changes the math of this war game. Instead of it just being random, you know what's in this deck. You can count cards. The only real randomness in Malifaux is the Jokers. The red Joker representing unmodifiable victory, and the black Joker representing unchangeable defeat. Bill is going to be my gang's beat stick, and tomorrow I'm going to get to work on some of the fodder units for this gang. I think I'm going to roll right through day 4 and 5 because I'm going to be painting up these same models, Konoichi 1 and Konoichi 2, the common fighters of my faction. The Konoichi are known as minions in Malifaux. Although they aren't named, you still can't spam them. They're not just soldiers. They are a hired crew member to round out the Malifaux team with some folks you wouldn't mind losing while giving your named characters room to do the things they need to do. Malifaux takes place over 5 turns of alternating activation, in which each gang can score a maximum of 8 points, which I think is a good number. I like low-scoring games because it's easy to keep track of and every point feels like a big accomplishment. It's the end of day 5 and my gang is already half done. I can see the finish line now and it's looking like Friday. The Konoichi kind of kicked my butt a little bit in terms of painting. Their clothing is all tight, shiny silk, so I kind of had to paint everything like non-metallic metal, but a color. It was still really fun to do though, and I'm really proud of how they turned out. By the end of this week, I'm gonna have a really cool gang, and the best is yet to come. It is day 6 of painting Malifaux, and today I have the Charm Warden. I struggled to get the clothing just right on the Konoichi, and the Charm Warden wears white, which is pretty much the hardest thing to paint, so I decided to fall back on some of my old tricks. I used a white speed paint over the clothing with a little airbrushing to clean it up. And it looks pretty good, certainly better than I could have done with a paintbrush, and it let me focus on some of the other details on the model. And thus ends the penultimate day of Malifaux painting. I have a finished Charm Warden. The Charm Warden is a pricey model with a lot of great offensive and defensive abilities, and for that she clocks in at 7 points to hire. The typical game of Malifaux is played at 50 points a side, known as Soul Stones. Your leader is free, you can think of it as you are the leader, and you're using those 50 Soul Stones to hire out the rest of your crew. And I have one more crew member to hire, and I am very excited about it. Hinamatsu, the puppet, the first mini I bought for this gang, and by far the weirdest. Hinamatsu is sort of not a part of my faction. She hails from the Neverborn, the faction of demons and monsters. But Malifaux has all sorts of interesting ways it tells the stories, and sometimes it works its way into the list building. Hinamatsu is not a human. She isn't from Earth. She is a product of Malifaux. But she pals around with the Kian Gong in the 10 Thunders faction, and is also available to hire out to the Neverborn teams. And she can bring along some of her 10 Thunders friends too. It's a fun quirk of list building that allows for some really interesting crews. This is the model I was most excited for in the whole gang, and it's now finished. I love a good tragic backstory, and Malifaux is full of them. Hinamatsu was created to perform, but one day she accidentally killed somebody, so she was locked away for decades, but eventually she escaped and was taken in by the Kian Gong, who look after her. It's a story of tragedy and hope. It's basically a Pixar movie. She's found a new family, although she still tends to get a little killy if anybody gets too close. Hinamatsu is now finished, and that means the whole crew is finished. This video is sponsored by Wyrd Games, and I hope I have given you a good insight into the game and why I love it. There is truly a faction for everyone, with dozens and dozens of masters to choose from. Masters like the Nexus, Titania, the Clampots, English Ivan, Perdita Ortega, Riva Cortinas, Seamus, Shenlong, Lingli, Captain Zip, Kiris, Sandeep Desai. Right now, Wyrd is having their Easter event from now until the 16th with unique free miniatures that can be added to orders over a certain threshold. If any Malifaux miniatures appeal to you, you can follow the link in the description below to check them out. Wyrd has provided us with an affiliate link so you can get some miniatures and help support the channel. My third Malifaux crew is finished. 40 hours of painting has led to this, and I am very proud of them. I wouldn't want to spend that much time on every single mini always, because then I wouldn't get anything done, but I think it is an important thing to do every once in a while. It's good experience, it's good practice, and it lets me see just how far I've come in my painting journey. I really love the game of Malifaux, and I would say that if you at all like the game Magic the Gathering, you would probably really like Malifaux because it is full of buffs and synergies and cards. It's a really dense game with an incredible amount of options, and I really love it and can't wait to get these guys in a game. Thanks for watching.